What is happening, everybody? It's your buddy Aaron and welcome back to another G35 video. Today's going to be a short little video. I'm going to be showing you guys how to service the non-serviceable spark plug tube seals in your Infiniti G35, Nissan 350Z, Nissan Maxima, or really any other VQ35. We have been making so much progress on this engine build and I'm super excited to put it in the car, but before we do that, we are on our last step, and that is pretty much changing the valve cover gaskets as well as the spark plug tube seals that I have leaking into the G35's spark plug tubes. Around 100,000 miles or 10 years, these valve covers do tend to leak through these valve cover tube seals that unfortunately cannot be replaced by Infiniti. So if you guys want to take your Infiniti to the dealer or your Nissan to the dealer, they're going to tell you that they want to replace the entire valve cover, which is like $265 just in parts, give or take. They do have aftermarket solutions for valve covers that are like $100 on Amazon, but all of the reviews pretty much say don't get it because they tend to just leak over time anyway. So a huge shout out to Hardly Moving Productions on YouTube because he gave me this idea on changing the spark plug tube seals that you really aren't supposed to change. So here's what I'm talking about. These are the old leaking tube seals that I have in this valve cover, and then over here you guys can see I got some nice brand new seals ready to go. It's gonna take a couple different tools and a little bit of fabrication, but with a little bit of work, a little bit of elbow grease, you can definitely get it done for really cheap. So there's actually two ways that we can replace these spark plug tube seals, but first of all, we're gonna have to remove these old ones. In order to remove it, we're gonna have to break out our Dremel cutting tool. You're probably like, Aaron, why do we have to cut out rubber seals? The reason is because there's a little metal ring that is inside of these seals. If we take a look at this seal right here, which is actually meant for these valve covers, which are not serviceable anyway, you can see on the side of them there's a little metal ring right there, and it makes this tube seal not flexible on the outside at all. So what we have to do is cut that metal ring, and then we have to bend the ring out. So we're gonna first use our Dremel tool to go ahead and cut the ring, then we're gonna use our needle nose pliers to go ahead and pretty much pry it all out of the valve cover. So I'm gonna show you guys how I got this valve cover looking pretty much nice and new. So we're actually not going to be using these Infiniti G35 or 350Z spark plug tube seals, and the reason is because they're just way too big to fit into the valve cover once you break out the old one. There's no way to press it back in. There's just no room for it unless you use this tool to drill the hole bigger, but we're not doing it. Instead, I'm pretty much taking these, not using them. And your boy went and picked up some 2010 Honda Civic spark plug tube seals that are pretty much the same exact design, just a little bit smaller so that they can fit perfectly into the spark plug tube hole. I'm gonna show you guys what I mean by that in a second. Let's go ahead and cut this thing out. Pretty much once you got a good grip on it and it's already like bending and rippling in, pretty much get a good twist on it until it breaks, and then we just take the excess and try to twist it out. And that's pretty much how you get the old one out of there. Get rid of this metal piece and then just take out the excess rubber that's still in between the cover. Alright guys, so we went ahead and got one of the spark plug tube seals out. It took me a good like 20 minutes to get that one out. That one's a little tough, especially getting all the rubber out of the little cracks. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one, and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna put the new Honda seals in. Alright guys, check it out. So we went ahead and tore up all of those spark plug tube seals. It really does take a lot of elbow grease and some oomph to try to get those out. But once you cut the edge of the tube seal where all the metal is, it's easy to just go ahead and use some vice grips or some pliers to go ahead and pretty much pry it all out. Once the metal was out, I just took my pliers and got rid of all of the excess rubber. So I just went ahead and cleaned up the valve cover with some brake clean, so now everything is clean with some oil. Now that they're clean, I'm going to show you guys how I installed these 2010 Honda Civic 2.0 spark plug tube seals that I purchased at Advanced Auto Parts for about $3.13 a piece. You also can't buy these from the dealer because Honda wants you to replace the entire valve cover just like Infiniti. So the reason why I got two right here is because once we take one, we go ahead and put it in one of the spark plug tube holes. You can see it pretty much, it fits perfectly. There's no play when you try to move it around back and forth. However, it doesn't really fit flush and it doesn't complete the seal. So that's when our second one comes into play, and we pretty much just put it right on top of the first one. That will give us an almost perfect spark plug tube seal. But of course this method would fail if we didn't use any RTV to keep everything together and sealed right. Oh dude, check out that jacket guys. Oh yeah, 20% off, New Year's 20. Go to DoubleASupply.com if you guys want to pick up a sick hoodie. Alright guys, so I got some extra Toyota sealer that I'm going to be using as our RTV here. So we're pretty much going to lay down a pretty good bead on the bottom here to keep that first seal in place. Alright guys, now that we have our RTV down, we're going to go ahead and lay down our first seal. So you want to make sure you lay down the seal like this and not like this. Just keep in mind that when you're putting your valve covers on, you're going to want this seal to easily slip on to your spark plug tube. So just lay that first one in there as flat as you can. So now we're going to take our sealer and put an even thicker bead on top of this seal because there is some space in between the valve cover where the old rubber was sitting. Alright, once we put down our RTV, we're going to put down our second seal. Pretty much just press it in as much as you can until everything's nice and flat. And that, my friends, is how you service a non-serviceable spark plug tube seal. So if you guys wanted to go ahead and use the actual spark plug tube seals that are meant for this valve cover and not use the 2010 Honda 2.0 liter ones, you guys have to pick up one of these 48mm circle saws. You're also going to need pretty much a drill press in order to use this. You attach it to the drill press, you hold down the valve cover somehow, and then this will pretty much press down into the valve cover, and then you cut out that 48mm circle so that you can easily press in the correct spark plug tube seal. However, what I realized after I got this attachment, I don't have the press. So I found on YouTube a guy who also did this, and I just figured that I would go ahead and try it. I know a lot of you guys, especially you mechanics out there, are probably cringing at this idea, but I'm super stubborn. I really don't want to buy any OEM valve covers, and if this is able to fix my spark plug tube seal leak, then why not? It was $35. And not only do you have one tube seal, you actually have two tube seals that are protecting the spark plug tube seal from any oil getting in. The only downfall that I see to using this Honda seal is the fact that the inner diameter is a little bit smaller than, you know, of course, the one that's meant for the Infiniti valve cover. So that being said, we take this Honda tube seal, we go ahead and pretty much put it on our spark plug tube. Gives a little bit of resistance, but it does go on. The only thing is, I'm kind of worried that all of this stress on the seal with all of the heat and over time will eventually cause it to either crack or expand or warp. So I'm not too sure about the longevity of this, but then when I take the bigger spark plug tube seal that is meant for this spark plug tube and I go ahead and put it on, it has almost the same amount of resistance on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this valve cover with the rest of the spark plug tube seals. So let's do it. Alright guys, so there we have it. We have all of our new spark plug tube seals installed in both of our valve covers for the G35. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have not tested this yet, and I'm not going to test it pretty much until I have the engine in the car and running again, and then I'll be able to test the longevity of it. So if you guys are watching this a couple months after I release this video, then try to check some of the new videos because I will be letting you guys know if these seals are going to hold up on the G35 or not. I saw a lot of comments on the other guy's video, and it looks like a lot of people were successful with doing this. but nobody else made a video on how to do it or followed up with it. So that's pretty much what my plan is for this video. That's gonna be pretty much it, guys. Just wanted to give you guys an update on pretty much like the engine assembly and everything. As you guys can see back here, we have most of everything all together already. We got our VTC covers on, the timing is done, everything is on point and timing is looking good. We have this super damper pulley which is gonna keep our engine nice and healthy, and is actually rated for super high horsepower, up to like 800 horsepower. Even more than that. I only got it for longevity wise and to keep the engine healthy and surviving all the torque spike. I was able to salvage the power steering pump and the alternator, as well as these pulleys off of the blown motor G35 because those were in good shape, but over here on the crashed one they got all messed up. So this is pretty much the same engine from the crashed G35, we just have a bunch of new mods. So this is the same exact engine from that crashed G35. The two new upgrade mods that we have is the cams and the super damper, but it also has all brand new seals, including stem seals and springs, and everything was torqued down to factory spec. Doing these spark plug tube seals were pretty much the last thing that I had to do in order to get the valve covers onto the engine and get it running again. I also went around and made sure that I re-tapped all of these bolts because I know some of them were giving me troubles. A lot of them are perfectly tapped and looking good. There were a couple that I did have to drill and put helicoils inside because just tapping them wasn't fixing it. It was already way too shredded up in there. I had to drill it, and then I put these little coils in there, which is kind of hard to see. This little coil that's in there that's pretty much spun into a newly tapped hole, and then now the screw that is meant for these bolt holes will screw into that coil and it will catch and it will be perfect. I also had some issues with this crank bolt. I ended up ordering a brand new crank bolt from Nissan because I work for an auto mall and there's a Nissan there, so I got it for like $8 employee pricing. That was awesome. I got it next day. So we got a new crank bolt. I also got a 16mm by 1.5 tap because I had to re-tap that crank bolt threads. So if any of you guys need to re-tap your crank bolt, just order a new bolt and use M16 by 1.5 tap, and that will get your threads perfect. Oh yeah, also I thought this was really cool to do because the little shifter bushings for my transmission, they were like completely shot and they were like falling out of this little shifter here. So I went ahead and picked up some epoxy from Advanced Auto Parts, and I filled up these little bolts right here. Let me take them out because they have bushings in them. So those little bushings right here, I went ahead and filled them up with some epoxy, and they are not moving at all. I ended up having fuck is that noise? Yo, there's a big ass bug in there. I am not fucking with that. Yo, hear that shit? That shit is massive. What the fuck is that? Okay, that is a huge bug. I'm not fucking with this. It's time for me to go to sleep. Anyway, guys, with my drill, I drilled out the bushings that were in there, and then when I went to go put them back, I just filled them up with epoxy, and now they are nice and straight. They're sturdy, so I'm gonna have smooth shifting. Alright, that bug is freaking me out, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave now. Alright guys, I hear this bug, but I don't see it, and it's freaking me out. Anyway guys, I'm gonna end this video right here. If you guys found this video super helpful, smash that like button. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Please don't roast me for this ratchet kind of fix for the valve cover spark plug tube seals. Anyway, if you guys are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're gonna be putting this G35 together soon, and it's gonna be badass. Oh my god, I found it. It's fucking huge. Oh my god, that's fucking huge.